right, so what is French for oops, I did it again? Emmanuel Macron inviting the rage of many of the unvaccinated in France by saying he wants to piss them off and make life very difficult for them if they don't get vaccinated, including not welcoming them in bars and restaurants and public venues. Protests are being planned right now, and even many of the vaccinated are saying he went too far. His goal, of course, is to see as many French citizens are vaccinated as possible to deal with the Omicron variant right now that is all the world's rage. Even though the cases are not as serious, there are certainly more of them. To Dr. Bob Lahita, the St. Joseph's Director for Autoimmune and Rheumatic Diseases. Doctor, good to see you. I'll spare you my Emmanuel Macron impression and French impression at that, but I did want to get your reaction to how he has vilified the unvaccinated and plans to make life difficult for them. What do you think of that?
Yes, Neil. Well, this is 3 months before his election. This is a gutsy move by Monsieur Macron, the president. And he really is, he's reflecting the anger of the French public against those who are not vaccinated. And actually, there's a lot of vaccination in France, somewhat near 70 to 80% of the population. He is doing what Monsieur de Blasio, the former mayor of New York City, did, and essentially prohibits people from squeezing them out of public events. And I don't think this is going to fly in the United States if President Biden has any idea that this may be the way he should go.
You know, the Supreme Court is taking up this issue of vaccine mandates. I don't want to go back and forth on that, but it might already be too late, right? I mean, we're at the point now where 200 million Americans have at least gotten one shot. I think 60 some odd percent, 3% are in that position. So I'm wondering if all of that might be a moot point. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that a mandate, a national mandate, would be a big mistake. America is based on freedom of what you want to do with your own body. I told you many times before, as well as others, that I think that certain professions should be mandated to be vaccinated, such as doctors, nurses, police, fire, EMS, and maybe school teachers for sure. But that's about where the mandates should stop. If you start doing that to the general public, as I see with my patients, they get extremely angry and very, very agitated when you tell them that they must get the booster, they must get vaccinated, and so on, although it is a good public health measure.
You know, already we've had 4 million cases, largely Omicron, in the past week, Doctor, versus 4 million cases in the first 6 months of the pandemic. What do you make of that?
We're going to have overwhelming infection. It's not a question of whether, but a question of when. I suspect everyone in the country will eventually be infected. The good news is, Neil, that this may provide us with the immunity, the herd immunity that we've been waiting for, simply because you either get infected or you get vaccinated. If your immune system then responds to this coronavirus, the only thing that would knock us out of the box would be a new variant. And as you know, the new variants occur in those who are unvaccinated. And so that's troublesome. And it's around the world, not just here in the United States.
What do you make of this other variant, the IHU? I hope I'm referring to it correctly, Doctor.
Yes. It's
been raising some concerns. Should we worry about it?
Well, until the data come in, we shouldn't worry about it. That's been described by a French genomics institute, which the IHU is all about, and it's from a guy that came in from Cameroon. And as you know, in various parts of Africa, the rate of vaccination is exceedingly low, sometimes less than 10% of the population. So that's where these variants are popping up, and they're popping up because some of these people who are immunosuppressed hang on to the virus for months, and that's when variation and mutation can occur. So I wouldn't lose sleep over the IHU. I've been talking about the Lambda, the Mu, and the Omicron for many, many months, and only the Omicron has spread like wildfire through the world and will provide us with significant immunity and not bad clinical symptoms.
You know, when we were last chatting, Doctor, you were talking about this virus being with us forever. The president says he doesn't think COVID is here to stay. Are you right? Is he right?
I think he's wrong. I think COVID is here to stay, just like influenza is here to stay. And I predict that when the pandemic goes away, we're going to have an endemic virus. And perhaps people will be creative and create a vaccine that will include both the flu and the coronavirus. every year, or maybe every other year, depending on how the scientists really feel about its endemic nature and how bad it proceeds, probably like the flu every season.
Dr. Bob Lahita, you've been such a constant and reassuring source on this through all the craziness. I know I speak for everybody, certainly here. We appreciate that. So continue keeping us calm, Doctor. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil.